Hello, and welcome to Generating and Choosing a Solution. Okay, based on everything we talked about so far, we have identified a problem, we have analyzed the problem, we have got down to its root causes, we have analyzed those root causes, we have, done a lot of things to try to really figure out what the problem is. Once we kind of understand all these things, our goal now is to generate a solution. All right. So the objective of this video is to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about how to generate solutions based on the analysis, and finally, how to choose a solution, a final solution. Okay. So how to generate solutions based on the analysis, based on the problem and its complexity, brainstorm solutions. Usually, you're not doing this analysis by yourself. Sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. Even if you are, sometimes you need to remove yourself and brainstorm a lot of different ideas. Don't try to stick with one thing. If you're doing this as a team, and most times you are in the world, in the industry, in the world, or whatever you're doing, the best thing to do is brainstorm. And, so what does brainstorm mean? We use that term quite a bit. So brainstorm solutions means a spontaneous group discussion to produce ideas and ways of solving problems. The whole idea that nothing is wrong, nothing will be ridiculed, that it's a freedom of just speaking out of potential. And then what you need to do is whoever is kind of leading this discussion, ensure that nobody says anything based upon the brainstorming. Meaning if somebody says, I think a good solution would be A, you don't want, Mr. Bob down the road there saying, that's silly. You don't want to do that right now. The whole idea is just board stuff, put stuff on paper of potential solutions, okay? List everything. Nothing is wrong. That's what brainstorming is about. If people start ridiculing right off the bat, the people aren't going to be as keen to give another possible solution that could have possibly been the solution. So you don't want to lose that. You just want people to feel comfortable and be able to just lay things out. Now, there's times you're by yourself. You're trying to solve this problem by yourself. I think the same exercise, goes. You need to just clear your head and start writing down and brainstorm ideas without thinking about them as you're writing them down. Just lay them all out, without doing anything more than just laying out. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Don't do. I can do this. Oh, probably I can't do this. Don't do that yet. That's to come. All right. Right now, you just want to get everything down. So either by yourself or with your team, brainstorm. List them all down. Once you have all of these, then the next process is to scrutinize each potential solution to determine if it is, and again, scrutinize is not a negative term here, but scrutinize is, if you go to the thesaurus, you'll find scrutinize right next to it, you'll say analyze, same thing, okay? You're analyzing, you're breaking down these potential solutions and truly trying to figure out if they're practical, if they're effective, if they're cost effective, if they're easily put into practice, if they're accepted by all, and they're consistent with other group activities. From a problem point of view, all this sounds really good, right? I mean, if we sit back and say, "Hey, I got this problem," okay, well, is it practical? I mean, is it realistic? Can we really solve it? And if we try to do this to solve this problem, will we be effective in doing so? All right. Meaning, world hunger. Well, let's mail food, in boxes to the poor countries of the world where these people were starving. Will that actually work? I don't know. Is it cost effective? Once again, when we're dealing with social issues, that's one thing. When we're dealing with business and their problems, it's another thing. Businesses want solutions to problems that are going to be a good investment for them. If it's not cost effective, meaning the cost of implementing the solution for a problem cannot be something that can recoup in the long run, it cannot be cost effective. Businesses won't deal with that. And so we'll get into that a little bit more as we move forward with the course. Easily put into practice. I've worked on implementations and system implementations and development throughout my career that took a couple years to actually develop, and we didn't get anywhere with it. So sometimes we got to look at the, you know, it sounds good to want to do this, but how much will that cost? How long will that take? And how complex will it be? What is the risk factor associated with it? Is really what you want to look at. So is it easily put into practice? You know, for 1 to 10, what's the chances that, or what's the probability that I can easily put this into practice versus what's the high risk? Is it accepted? That's an interesting key here. And what I love about this, the reason I giggle and I apologize, is that in software development, acceptance is key, because if we actually solve a problem and we put it into practice, meaning we write an application, but the people who are going to use it won't accept it, we did nothing. In social issues, it's the same thing. You know, I mean, you could probably relate to this. You know, if the government comes down with a problem-solving piece, but you don't agree with it, it's unaccepted. And so, with that all said, accepted by all is an interesting piece here. And is it consistent with other group activities? So, is it consistent? Again, are people going to accept it? Can they adapt to it easily? Is it consistent with what they're doing already? That makes sense. I know there's a lot going on here, but again, relate to problems that you deal with right now and look at that list when you actually when you try to solve a problem and you go through it, okay? In that case, all right? Accepted by all. I always go back to those words. I'm sitting there looking at it right now again. By all. Let's just say accepted by the majority. How's that? I don't know. By all sounds pretty vast. It's pretty hard to get everybody to agree on something, don't you think? So how do we choose one? All right, so we, we, we brainstormed a bunch of ideas. We scrutinized each one based upon that list I just showed you. And we came up with, these three are our top three. How do you get to one? Well, hopefully you have a consensus. If you're using it as a group, you come to a consensus on the best solution. How do you do that? I don't know. There's times if the whole team says this is the one, maybe there's obvious ones, especially if you're looking at the cost effectiveness, the ease of putting it into practice, the acceptance, and so on. Probably by the time you analyze each one of those solutions, it's going to be pretty evident or pretty uh, we'll just say evident. I'm losing my vocabulary here, but it's pretty evident on which one really stands out. Okay. If one don't stand out, maybe you need to choose a different decision-making possibility. Okay. Maybe you need a vote. There's two that are so close. Which way do we go with this? If you're with a team, maybe you vote democratically, or maybe you choose not to decide, and you need to do more and do a little bit more analysis and more deep analysis to make sure which solution is right. Once again, with these early videos that I'm doing, government just seems to come into play big time here, okay, in what we're doing. All right. So anyway, that's how you kind of come across looking at solutions and so on. It's not easy. As I said, is easy. Well, I'm sorry that I keep referencing government, but have you ever paid attention to how Congress works? If you do, solving problems is not an easy thing to do. Coming to a consensus is not an easy thing to do. Everybody has their own agendas, and with that, sometimes that hiccups things. In business, though, it's a little bit more black and white, so that's the good news. So, versus trying to solve everybody's issues that are out there from a congressional point of view or from a social point of view. When it comes to business, it's a little bit more black and white, a little bit easier to do. So that's the good news. Okay? All right. With that, you should be working on your assignments for this week. Have fun with them. It's not so much that you're going to be solving these problems that we're giving you. It's so much the process that you're going to be walking through. Have some fun with it. And again, we'll draw some analogies to that a little bit later on when we get into solving problems for businesses using software development.